What is up? This is the War Dog. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Theater with me and my fellow host, JR. What's going on, JR?
What's up, War Dog?
Oh, we got an awesome show today because this show's about me. I mean, who doesn't love talking about themselves? Actually, I wrote a comic book, and I met this guy, Jason Hehir. Jason, amazing guy, the co-creator of this book. I couldn't have done this without this guy. I wrote the characters. Jason brought them to life. He designed them. He gave them the funny faces. You know, I could just talk about this forever. So I'm going to turn this over to JR. JR, you do your thing, and then let's kick this podcast off. And we'll talk a little bit about The Crew, the book that kicked off today on Kickstarter.
The book that is taking Kickstarter by storm. That's exactly what it is, man. We are talking about The Crew, and I love the way that the title of the Kickstarter, The Crew, mind-melting, monstrously funny first issue. And we are really pleased to have Jason as a guest here with us, as who's the artist for The Crew, as well as Todd being the writer. And I'm just really going to ask you. I want everybody to kind of get to know you a little bit, Jason. Kind of give us your backstory on when you started. And then I know you took a break. You might talk about that a little bit for us, and then give us an idea what brought you back to your art.
All right. Well, I mean, basically, been drawing, just as a pastime hobby, like my whole life. But like almost 19 years ago, uh, you know, started settling down, got married, trying to worry about a career and family, and just put the pencil down. It was, I had different priorities at that point. And it had never really gone anywhere other than just, me doodling on the couch. And I've never, had any classes or anything. It's always just been, whatever I just felt like doing. And honestly, I thought that was behind me because there were more important things. We were starting a family, you get into the fatherhood thing. Career driven. Actually, what ended up happening was, about I want to say it looks like it's about 6 years back now. Got into a car wreck, had me laid up for a while. Had to completely realign my priorities, but for 2 years I was basically couch ridden. I don't want to say bedridden, but I could not walk without being in severe pain. So got the laptop sitting beside me, getting on Facebook just to communicate with some friends still, because it was that point in time where basically a lot of people just kind of communicated on Messenger, and saw these comic book groups, and joined a few of them just to stay entertained and whatnot. And I want to say the next week it was the art contest for the Chaos amalgamation, where it was take your favorite Chaos character and then draw them in a period piece from like the 40s or 30s or 20s. And, so I whipped up a piece, threw it up, and Brian Polito chose me as the winner. And that just like ignited it all over again. I remembered how much I enjoyed doing this. And, it basically comes back down to this project now. Yeah, it seems like I'm skipping ahead in time, but that's really what it comes down to. Because if it wasn't for the community that we are basically growing out of, this wouldn't have happened at all in the first place. I never would have gotten back into drawing.
Right. And I, let's be real here. This podcast that we're doing is an outreach of the social media groups that we're a part of too. There's a lot that we actually credit. There you go. Todd's showing off his Collector's Corner t-shirt. I'm repping mine. You know, I'll have mine on for Free Comic Book Day. Obviously, we're recording this the evening before Free Comic Book Day, but I mean, you know, it's really something that is a big part of our lives as far as being able to communicate with fellow nerds and stuff like that. And so, Todd, I'm going to throw this to you here real quick. You and Jason met up for the first time, and it was because of a trade or something like that. Tell me about the first time you guys met, Todd.
Okay, so Jason missed out on Batman Damned, right? He posted something on the Collector's Corner, one of my favorite groups, and he was looking for Batman Damned. I had 2 of the 3 copies that he wanted. I had to find the 3rd copy. Luckily, and I mean, honestly, like, you want to talk about fate with all this. Like, this was just fate. I messaged my comic book store and I said, I need this copy of Batman Damned because Jason's got the first appearance of Reverse Flash, and I want to make a trade with him. He said, when I first messaged him, he said, I don't got it. The next weekend, he sends me a message and he's like, I got it. You want it? Well, the cool thing about this comic book shop is that he's willing to make trades. So I had one of the biggest Transformers, Metroplex, right? I bought it for $75 at Toys R Us. It was on sale. I went in there with Metroplex. He gave me $150 for Metroplex, and I paid him an extra $50. I got the book. It was Batman Damned without the words in it, and I had all 3 books that Jason needed. I sent him a message, and I said, Jason, I got the books that you need. I want this Reverse Flash really bad because I'm a big fan of the whole Flash TV show. So me and Jason, we met up at a comic book shop, and I gave him my books, and I said, Jason, I'm like, this Jim Lee variant right here, this is like a 10.0, man. I'm like, get this graded because it's going to be a 10.0. And, you know, I wanted him to get value out of it, and I wanted to get value out of it, right? We met up, and Jason was afraid that I was an axe murderer. So we had to meet up at the comic book shop. But let me tell you, I don't even know how to use an axe. You know, I try to make bonfires, and I can't cut wood for the life of me, right?
You have Bishop come over and cut the firewood for you.
And no, my wife comes out with the Sawzall and she cuts it for me. So Jason and I we met up at the comic book shop, and we made the trade. The book that he had was beautiful. Books that I had, I think were beautiful. We made the trade, and we just started talking. And because we met on the Collector's Corner, right? We kind of knew each other. We didn't really know each other, but we kind of knew each other. You know, that's the great thing about these Facebook groups. You kind of know each other. And when you meet each other, it's like, oh, you know, I know you. So we met, we started talking, and right away, like instantly, you know, it took no time for us to become friends, you know, and we started talking about, like, you know, just life, you know, because that's what you do when you meet a friend, right? And I told Jason, you know, I wrote a comic book, and Jason's an artist, and he's like, send it to me. So I sent Jason the comic book, and honestly, like within 5 days, Jason is sending me sketches and concept art, and I sent comic books to other people, and they told me they couldn't even read them because they didn't have the time, right? Well, Jason read this one, and the first thing when he was sending me the concept art that I thought was, he must have liked the story, you know? And
that's a safe assumption.
Yes, exactly. I mean, he must have liked the story. So next thing you know, we're making a comic book. He's drawing it, and we're trying to figure out, like, you know, and let me tell you, I mean, Jason is fast. He's a great illustrator. I mean, if anybody who's listening to this if you're looking for an illustrator, this dude over here is amazing. He illustrates it. He'll finish something in a day. He'll send it to me. He'll say, "What do you think about this?" And I look at it. I'm like, "It's awesome." You know what? And after about 20 pages, I'm like, "Am I supposed to say something different?" But everything that he sends me is awesome. I've loved it. There's maybe on 20 pages, once or twice I said, move this or do this because I can't fit the words in here, right? And I mean, we became friends, and I love him. He's like a brother, and we
Aw.
I know I'm gonna start crying here, but we made this comic book together, and it's done. It's on Kickstarter. We already got like $1,200 of pledges, and hopefully we get many more. You're gonna love this. If you read this, you're gonna love it. I don't know where I'm going from here. So John, I'm gonna pass it on to you, bro.
No, you're cool, man. No, and actually, just so you're aware, since we started the podcast, it's up to it just passed $1,500. So yeah, that's a good little milestone, and mind you guys, that's about 2.5 hours of it being live, which is freaking phenomenal. That's awesome. The community is getting behind this, which is what I'm glad to hear. Like what you're saying about meeting Jason for the first time. It's like meeting an old friend for the first time is really what it is. And I know that sounds a little bit like an oxymoron, but you get to know somebody through these social media groups. You get to start knowing some of their preferences, what they like, what they love, what some of their hobby horses are as far as things that they dislike, maybe, and like Jason was talking about doing the contest there in one of the Facebook groups that we were doing at the time. And actually, personally, I'm going to push that we start doing that again, because I think it's good for us as fans. I don't have a lick of talent in my body. It's just not. I can appreciate the art. I can appreciate a well-written story, but for the life of me, I got no real talent at all.
Don't sell yourself short, bro. You got a talent for the word.
The gift of gab.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Maestro with the words.
That's hereditary, man. I will give that credit all to my dad. So anybody who knows him will testify to that ad nauseum. Anyway, the truth of the matter, though, is that, I think it's good for us to encourage artists, burgeoning artists who are picking up the pencil again for the first time in 10 or 15 years, guys who had almost given up on the dream. And this is really the time. I want to talk to you guys. Whose idea was it to go the Kickstarter route for this book? Was that your idea, Todd?
Actually, John, it was something that was kind of forced upon us. I actually sent the book to several publishers, Image, Alterna, the list goes on. And the cool thing is that I got responses back from all of them. And that was like, if you read the submission guidelines, most of them say don't expect a response. And I got responses back, and that made me feel kind of good. And it was also like, bulletin board fodder. Like, you didn't pick me. I'm going to prove you wrong. Because you know what? I love Image Comics, but Image makes a lot of crap, right? They make 50% of Image's books are good and 50% of Image's books are crap. Our book would have been better than most of the crap that they're printing right now. I guarantee it right here, right now, right? But and I'm sorry, Image, if you're watching this, you're probably not. But if you are, I still do love you.
We would absolutely absolutely accept a sponsorship from Image Comic Books if they in fact are listening, regardless of what Todd just said. We love all of your titles, no matter what, no matter how crappy how good they are. um, anyway, no, I get that. I get that you kind of feel that was forced upon you. I will say though, I personally kind of think that you guys are ahead of the curve here, or at least on the cutting edge of what's coming down the pipes. I know a couple of guys like Brian Polito have been doing Kickstarters for years, but I get the feeling that this is the future of creativity when it comes to comic books. And Jason, one thing I was going to ask you, with the art, that kind of thing, going with Kickstarter, that's got to give you a level of freedom that you probably would not get from one of these more major publishers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot more freedom in the creator's hands, because you're not worried about, okay, so we're trying to sell this, because that was the thing too when I started putting this together, was because he wanted like 10 pages for submission, so we wanted to get some things colored, just something to have in hand and send it out. And I was worried because, like, okay, so when I draw this, am I going to be worried about offending somebody or something? You got editors to answer to. They could take the whole thing and then like chop it to pieces. And this right now it's an unadulterated, unedited, non-biased. We ain't worried about whose toes we're stepping on piece, and I'm proud of it. And it's just the ability to not worry that makes doing these things so much easier. Because I told Todd on many occasions when we were talking back and forth, and yeah, he is right. When I would ask him for feedback, all I would get was, looks great. But whenever I've worked with other people who've recently, I've worked with Terry Mayo, Martin Dunn, and with them, every page I would turn in, it would be, let's get it for review before it's a finalized thing. Like, I would do layouts for a page, and Todd would look at the layouts and be like, dude, that's awesome. I'm like, that's not the end. but yeah, we found a rhythm. This stuff was basically drawing itself. It was an alien style to me. I had never really, thought about drawing in a cartoony, way before, because everything I've ever posted or whatever has always been in like either the sexy bad girl thing or the really super heroic thing. So drawing like this, it was a new exercise. And one thing I wanted to add, whenever talking to Todd about when we first met, just slightly prior before that, I was actually still involved with doing a gig for Martin Dunn, doing some page work for like what's potentially a web comic down the line. So I didn't have time to chime in much, but he had actually put the word out for, I think it was a darker, more serious story that you had written, Todd. Am I right?
Yeah. I've written a bunch of stories. I started writing stories probably like 3 years ago as a hobby. I'm married. I have kids. Everybody goes to bed at about 8:00, and I'm a night owl, so I'll stay up until like 8. I'll stay up till like 11, 12 o'clock. So, rather than watching TV, a lot of times I just sit on the back porch and just start writing. And really what happened was, I wrote one story, I let some people read it, and the next thing you know, they were like, tell me what's going to happen next. And the crazy thing is, when you get to be like 42 years old, right? Your friends don't lie to you, right? They don't like, if I told my friends that I was going to be in a dancing competition and I started doing this, right? They'd be like, yo, yeah, give it up, bro. Give it up. Right. So
Hey, that's something, white boy.
Exactly. And they read the stories, they liked them, they wanted to know what was going to happen next. And I wrote a bunch of different stories, and a lot of the stories that I was writing were kind of like vigilante type stories. And then I was sitting with my 10-year-old son. We were watching Rick and Morty, I shouldn't have probably said he was 10 years old because we were watching Rick and Morty, but he's
Are
a
you
good.
sure wasn't your 16-year-old?
Yeah, yes. Thank you, John. Thank you. So we were watching Rick and Morty, and he's giggling, right? He's laughing at everything, and he's a good kid. I don't really worry too much about him. And I thought, I'm gonna write a story, a fun story. And my friend Bishop, who, if you're on the Collector's Corner, you probably know who Bishop is. He always tells me that I'm funny. Like, he would always tell me, like, you need to do a stand-up bit. I'm like, dude, my problem is I'm not good live. Like, if you give me like 15 minutes to think about a response, I can think about a response. I guess maybe I'm funny. I don't know. Jason, what do you think?
I think it's as a matter of fact, I was just talking earlier with my wife about it when I was thinking about the book. I was like, we put together this really, really funny thing. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, I kind of imagine like Jay and Silent Bob doing skits off this stuff. It's that kind of humor, it's smart, but then there's the gutter humor in there too. And then it's that whole age whenever you are at that point where you think you can cuss, but you ain't doing it right. That whole your coming of age time, that the transition from the running, jumping, skipping, climbing trees to looking at Playboys and smoking out behind the shop. But it was just I'll refer back to what I said earlier. It was right. It was drawing itself. I mean, I was reading his stuff and just I was laughing when I would smile drawing panels. And like I said, this is also a great exercise for me because I don't normally draw in this style. But I could be in the worst mood. I even told Todd this the other day. I could be in the worst mood. I could be having a horrible day. Pick up my pad, start drawing something from the crew, but before I'm done, I'm smiling. It actually is. It's refreshing. It's fun. It's an awesome take when we're in the shape we are in the market today, where it's how many times can we rehash time travel, Crisis on Infinite freaking Planets, multiversity, all this. It's like this was a breath of fresh air. And honestly, even though I had gotten the creative juices back, I was totally focused on other things. Like, this ended up being a joy. And whenever I was talking about the other things that Todd had written, his first script, that he had asked for people to look at, I actually got a copy of it. But like I said, I was mid doing another project. And so I never had a chance to get back with him. And when we did finally meet for that trade, and we ended up shooting shooting the breeze for a little bit. And, long story short, got to this thing here, and it was just those serendipity. It was cosmic alignment. It was just meant to be. And the sheer the 1 in a million chance that this would be the combination that would come of like you said, just hooking up for trade. I'm trading comics with this dude. I'll probably never talk to him again. But yeah, no, he shot me that. And like I said, it brought a smile to my face, and that's the way it's felt ever since. I mean, I'm already, several pages into drawing out the pages for the second half of this. So when this is a success, we can jump right into putting the next one out there, because it just flies.
Oh yeah, and my understanding from Todd, you've got 4 of these already written out. Is that correct?
Yeah, John. So actually, before I even met Jason, I had written probably 3 of the books already. So that they were probably written like a year ago, right? And then I got back in this Kickstarter and all this and doing all the work to get this comic book done kind of distracted me a little bit from writing the story, but I got back into it, and I'm probably like 3 pages away from finishing book number 4. I got to a point. I'm at a point on book 4 where like I introduced Josh Biddle and and James Cotter. They got a lemonade stand. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but they're kind of like the old guys in the Muppets, because Josh Biddle is always a little bit sarcastic when he's talking to me. I love that dude, and I don't mind it. I love it. so it worked perfectly into the story. I've got about 3 more pages of book 4. I'll tell you, I've thought like I'm already thinking like 10 books ahead already. Like one of our friends, Jerry Rowe, who did a podcast with us, I was thinking like, okay, so when this arc of this story is over, I got to start a new arc. And I was like, Jerry, Jerry is perfect. I got to get Jerry into this story, right? John, you're going to be in this story as well. Um, this story kind of takes place on Earth and in space, and so I'm kind of telling the Earth story right now, right? But I also plan on telling the space part of this story as well. And Mike Huffman, who is the admin of the Collector's Corner, is the commander of Space Force, and he needs he needs a crew. And so like John, you are like probably the first mate of his crew. Um, I've been thinking like Conky from Pee Wee's Playhouse. Like JR, the clunky robot. But I'll probably have you more like the guy from Empire Strikes Back that shows up with the little bars around his head. you know. But the one thing about the crew. So, and I don't even think Jason knows this, but there's many crews in this story. All right, you're gonna look at the first copy and you're gonna say, okay, these 3 kids are the crew, right? But there's a group of aliens that are a crew, right? And then there's the Space Force, and like I said, Mike Huffman is gonna need his crew, right? So it's the story of many crews all working, and it's that teamwork working together to try to solve these problems. So
Dude, that sounds awesome. And I'm glad that like you were talking about before too, giving these people at least a smidge of a base in reality, where when you're plugged into a group like the Collector's Corner that we're all plugged into, and we were talking about before that you develop friendships and stuff like that. When you say something like Josh Biddle is a little sarcastic when he talks to you, yeah, anybody who knows him, they can definitely see that. Or Huffman being the captain of Space Force, that would definitely not be too far fetched for
Yep.
that Texas redneck. There is no way that's too far fetched for him. Or even like, we've seen the one of the covers for one of the 4 variant covers for the crew is where you are able to have yourself drawn in, as far as there's a space left that you could have an artist draw you in, which I think was a brilliant idea, by the way, because that man, how good is that to feel like you're included in the crew? There's something to be included there. It's a good idea. But I don't want to leave. You were talking about Matt Chambers is your color guy. I don't want to leave those guys out, or Gaz Moses, who is on the Join the Crew cover, but also did a variant cover as well. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to use those guys with this project as well. Was that a collaboration that you guys decided on that, or did one of you guys chime in and say, hey, this is who I think we should use? And I'm directing that at both of you. So whoever's decision that was, I'm going to let you answer.
all right, so you know me, I'm Mr. Social, and well, first off, Gaz Moses is one of the friends that I've made on this page, on the Collector's Corner specifically, and I really felt like I couldn't do a book without having Gaz contribute to this, because I love the guy. He's a good guy, and he did exactly what I asked him to do. I said, do a, sorry, my air conditioner just went off, but I told him to do a Spaceballs homage, and he did it, and I'm pretty satisfied with what he did. Matt Chambers is our color guy, and we were looking for a color guy, and I reached out to Gaz Moses for that as well, and Gaz mentioned Matt. Matt was available, and so we brought Matt into this project as well, and Matt colored. And you know, the cool thing about Matt is Matt was really quick with what he did, and you know, Jason and him would interact, and Jason would tell him what he wants to do, and Matt would clean it up and fix it. And you know, at the end of the day, we got what we wanted. But you know, really, you know, when I wrote this story kind of as a tribute to all of the friends that I made on the Collector's Corner. That's why I named all the characters after people on the Collector's Corner. It was like a tribute and a thank you to all you guys for making life so much better on Facebook, right? Because otherwise, all I'm seeing is political crap. And you know, I quit Facebook for like a year because I didn't want to see all that crap. I was tired of it. I came back, got on the Facebook, joined these comic book groups, had a great time. And all the people that I've met, all the people that I interact with, I feel like they're friends. I feel like we're going to, if we ever meet up, we're going to, you know, be like best buddies, you know. The other thing, you know, so anyway, so, you know, I incorporated a lot of, I could have named the characters after anything. I could have named them Bruce Wayne or, you know, any generic name, but as a tribute to all the friends that I made, I said, you know what, I'm gonna name them after my friends. And then, you know, now this is the fictitious character disclaimer I'm gonna give right here. None of the characters are actually 100% based on anybody, because the only character that I've really met is Bishop. And so, I mean, Bishop's character is probably the closest. And Bishop's a funny guy as well. So he did help me. He did help me along. I wrote the story, but we did talk about the dialogue a little bit. And he told me, like, yo, I wouldn't say cuz right here. I would say bitch or dude. And I was like, you know what? You're my best friend. Okay, this fits. You know, one of the tributes that I can say to Jason's artwork is Bishop sitting here, right? And he's telling me, I wouldn't have said cuz in this particular spot, right? He's like, Bishop looks pissed off in this picture. He would say bitch. I mean, Jason, you know, and I don't want to get all sentimental here, but, you know, Jason read the story, but he also drew the characters in the expressions in the way that I wanted to see them. So that's why it was always like awesome, awesome, awesome. You know, and even like to have Bishop over here and to look at his character and say, I wouldn't say cuz right here. I would say bitch. You know, that's a complete tribute to what Jason did artwork wise. Now, as far as this goes, it's from a futuristic perspective. Honestly, John, I wanted to have like 10 variant covers, and I wanted every single Collector's Corner member that does artwork to be able to contribute to this. And I did reach out to a whole bunch of them, and you know, because of the time constraints, you know, we couldn't get all the guys that we would have loved to get to contribute to this. But this is bigger than me and Jason. This is like, if we could keep this going, right? We could give so many dudes and women who draw an opportunity to contribute to this book. Like, if you do a cover and it's good and it sells, yo, great job. We love you. Right?
Right. Well, and it's like we were saying, we've said this many times, that one thing that we really take pride in the groups that we deal with is strengthening the comic book community through writers, through artists, through encouraging people to tell their stories and to share and to collaborate. This really does feel like it was a collaboration between the two of you. We're not going to have any of this Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff at the end of this kind of stuff, because I mean, let's be real here. Todd's given a ton of credit to you, Jason, in the execution of his dream and his stories, and it's your story too. That's, you know, I hate to, I don't want to get too awful sentimental about it either, but I mean, really, that's got to be encouraging for an artist to come on board, and the guy who wrote the story to essentially just, you guys are co-creators on this, and from day one there's not any question about that.
Yeah, no, there's never been a day of thinking I'm not included in this process, or that I'm not really, involved in the overall product that we're pushing here. And it's really been incredibly rewarding, because I mean, to have, I think what we look at now is that a lot of the artists are getting a lot of the credit they deserve, especially from the past. The fact that, yeah, we may have had a decent story out there, but had the artist not brought it to life this way, it would never have gone into what it became. So that's really turned the tide. And Todd is such, I mean, he's I don't want to toot your horn here, Todd, but you're like just an incredibly nice person, and it's like just always positive, always trying to, he's the peacekeeper, he's the one, he's the glue that binds kind of thing. He holds this whole thing together. He he's, yeah, I put a lot of effort into putting this thing out there visually, but it's him, and even still in a managerial position, him handling, talking to people about covers, talking, getting the colors lined up, sending out the emails, trying to get feedback, really looking at the big picture. Because I got to go back a little bit here. Prior to this, it was, I don't, you remember Steam Age Wasteland, the little project we did?
Absolutely.
That was my first, like, look, I got published. And that you guys in the corner, y'all made that, like a dream come true for me. And then all the positive reception that received, like, that opened doors. I mean, the corner strong, man. You guys really brought me out of a down place, and this has been just getting better by the day. Since starting this off, I've been fortunate enough to work with Terry Mayo, the writer creator of Wicked Righteous. He's let me do something that's going to be coming out soon as well, and I'm looking forward to that. I mean, things just keep coming. It's like blessings from this, and Todd has just been like this awesome ball of energy. Just push it, and it's awesome, and it's great. And honestly, when you're an artist and you're pushing the pages for review, you're sitting there expecting for criticism. You're expecting to have to alter something. And like he said, there may be like, what, 2-3 times total over the course of the first issue where it was like, I'm just a little bit more room for words. But yeah, I know he's sitting there giving me so much credit, but if it hadn't been for his positive energy and his presence on and drive to do this, this probably wouldn't be happening. Because I'm not, I don't want to sound like the comedian Ron White, but if I'm not having fun doing it, I got a whole lot of quit in me.
You know that's true. That's a little true of all of us. Let's be real here. It's good to have somebody there to encourage, but also be able to tweak some things without running you into the ground so far that you do want to give in to that quit in you. You know what I mean? Now, Jason, just in case you may have it handy, you may not. I would like for you, if you don't mind, for the video for the folks on YouTube. Do you have your digital copy of what you did for Steam Age Wasteland handy? If you could show that to us, that will give folks an idea here. We've talked about before with folks having different styles for their art and what have you, and talking about Todd being a positive guy. I tried to get him to be disliking of one of the most dislikable characters in all of social media and comic books, and he still wants to give the guy a pass. And I'm not going to say his name because it may hurt his feelings, that kind of thing. Not Todd's feelings, but the other guy's feelings. So this is Benny and Jet from the Steam Age Wasteland that we did through the Collector's Corner, and that was done through Antarctic Press. And man, I tell you what, that's just some killer work. But it's not even remotely close to what was done for what's being done with the crew, which like you say, to me, that shows flexibility and style. And that's a testament to somebody who's trying to develop more than just one way of telling a story through his comics. Now, I want to talk to you guys about the choices for the covers. So we know that the Gosmoses is a Spaceballs reference. And if you look on the Kickstarter project right now, you can see all four of these covers. You have a cover A for the crew, and that Jason, explain to me what your inspiration was there for that cover A with the alien. Is that Bishop that he's shooting there?
Yeah. It was a joint effort. That the main cover really represented me and Todd melding on that, and it was just for some slapdash, some slapstick humor for the cover. Aliens throwing up devil horns. Just get as much as like you can't handle this in there as possible. And as far as like the layout, the choice to go all in black for the background, the way the
You're gonna love this, John.
title logo, the banner across the bottom, how we ended up at the monstrously funny first issue little banner at the bottom was I was greatly influenced while doing this by the Tick, and thinking of Ben Edlund's work and the humor and how he talks about expressions, how I would tweak every single character's face to really kind of just nothing remotely like Kevin McGuire, who made Justice League awesome in his facial expressions and how he would get the emotion and emoting into every one of his characters. But it was something like that, and I was thinking of along the lines of the Tick humor. So that cover, the layout, not necessarily the image, but the layout is like the first issue of the Tick, the first printing, black cover background, yellow bar, yellow orange logo.
Absolutely see it. Absolutely see that for sure. And Jason, I think we just became best friends, like right there in that instance, because that's right in my wheelhouse for the type of humor. I don't know if I shared this in the podcast before or not, but I made a deal with my daughter while we were driving. I don't even remember where we were driving to or from, but I had taken the first 3 issues of The Tick with me to read in the waiting room. I don't know if it was a doctor's appointment or if we were, I don't remember what it was, but on the way home, stop for ice cream. But this is the catch. You've got to read the first issue of The Tick to me while we're driving. And I was driving and I hit record on my phone and I recorded her reading it, and even caught her rolling her eyes at some of the gags that were in the book, because she's too young to understand half of the gags that are in the book, as far as, payphones. What the heck is a payphone? Nobody knows what a payphone is anymore. Or turning a cassette tape from side A to side B, and you have to do it at the beep. That kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, that's an awesome choice to do it that way, because anytime you're paying homage back to Ben Edlund, and really I think he doesn't get just dues for his creativity in that, not just The Tick, but if you're a fan of Supernatural, he's involved with Supernatural as well. A lot of the comedy aspect in some of the Supernatural episodes, it's because of him. And I guarantee it is, because I've read it in the books that he was writing when he was very first starting out. So that's definitely, I love that idea there, to have that layout. Now Todd, you said for the Gosmoses we went with the Spaceballs homage there, and I have an idea of why I think you wanted the alien playing with dolls, but I want you to explain to everybody why the alien is playing with dolls there.
Well, all right. So first off, sorry, Jason, but the 3 of the covers were my idea, and the homage cover was Jason's idea. All right. So the first cover, I told Jason, this is what I want to see, and Jason executed it perfectly. He even, like, he went back to, like, the old school, like, Street Fighter games where Balrog gets all, like, energized, right? And when the color guy was doing it, right, he did it a couple different times, and Jason's like, it's got to look like Balrog from Street Fighter. Blanca, exactly. All right, sorry, Blanca. So, I mean, I'm not an artist. I can't draw, but I have decent ideas. I mean, I will say Jason created a lot. Most of this stuff, most of the artwork was Jason's creation, but I did have some ideas. If I could draw, I would have drawn this stuff. But fortunately, I had Jason to draw this for me. The first cover was, I just said to him, like, why don't we do something like this, right? And he executed it perfectly. We had the color guy do it. It didn't look right. So Jason said, why don't we do this like The Tick #1? He went back. He changed it to The Tick #1 kind of format. We looked at it. We were like, cool, right? Book #2, the Gosmoses one. I reached out to Gosmoses and I said, one of my favorite scenes is Spaceballs, and I do collect action figures, and I wish that I had.
You don't just collect them, you play with them. Be honest, Todd, you play with them.
I hoard them is probably the better terminology, right? So, I was thinking about that Spaceballs scene, and I said, I sent guys an email or a message, and I just said, yo, guys, like, do something like this. So that was the Gaz cover, right? Matt colored it. Gaz was really happy with it. Came out pretty good. I'm really happy with it. The third cover, the Join the Crew cover, it was just like a last minute thing. Like I was like, Jason, like I have an idea. Why don't we do a Join the Crew type of a cover, right? And Jason went back and he, you know, it's probably an homage to one of the Justice League covers, right? But Jason put that together, and and that's where being friends with Bishop too. He was like, everybody wants to be drawn into this. Everybody wants to see themselves in this. So I was like, we need to do a cover like this. The homage cover, 100% Jason. He seen that cover. He was like, I want to see War Dog's head chopped off. And he did that cover. Came out beautifully. It took a lot of work. That one was one of the toughest ones to put together, like to get the colors perfect, to get the title bar perfect, to make everything look perfect. But when you look on the Kickstarter, it looks beautiful. I look every time I'm scrolling through everything, I'm like, I look at that one and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. It makes me feel really good about what we're doing.
I'll tell you right now, my only concern at all with the Kickstarter at all is how I'm going to explain to my wife that I had to have all 4 covers. Honestly, that's really my only concern at all with the Kickstarter, is because I think all 4 of them are outstanding, and not just outstanding in a different way, but still find a way to be cohesive. They definitely do a good job of telling this. They do a good job of hooking you in. The Now You Can Join the Crew, I personally think that's inspired right there, man, because like you say, or like Bishop, you were saying Bishop had said, everybody wants to be a part of the crew, man. That's not, when this was first rumored to be a thing, I know people were likely hitting you up in instant message saying, angling to get in some way, shape, or form. And in the past, let's be true here too, is we've had little cameos for people in the collector's corner, as far as making the cover of a book, or making a friend of mine here locally, Caesar Crawford. He actually, in his Kickstarter, and this has been a year and a half ago or more, offered for a certain level, a certain tier in the Kickstarter, to be drawn into the comic book as a part of the zombie horde that was coming through. And so a couple of friends locally took him up on that, and he drew him into the comic book as a part of the zombie horde. And not really a recurring character in any way, shape, or form, but still a neat. What comic book fan doesn't want to at some point be featured in a comic book, or be able to draw, or Jason, like you were saying, being published for the first time is a big deal. It's a big deal for a writer, for Todd too, to be published for the first time, whether it's self-publishing or whether somebody picks you up on a label. Either way, it's a big deal. But like I say, this Now You Can Join the Crew, I think that's really the one that caught my attention at first. But I mean, the Tales of Suspense homage cover, that was that's one of them that has been homaged before, but not, I don't think it gets homaged enough, honestly. But I guess it does take a certain kind of book to be able to pull that homage off.
Well, John, I mean, who doesn't want to see me getting War Dog getting his head chopped off? on a
Well,
cover.
if you actually got your head chopped off, then I would have to find a new co-host for the podcast, and that would be a great big pain in my rear end, and I'm not sure I'm up to that task.
You know, one thing that I do want to say is it what so so I wrote books 1, 2, and 3 like a year ago. It really was never like a popularity contest or anything like that. Like, I love everybody. I have made so many friends. I mean, the biggest struggle that I have is at this point is I want to include so many people into the story so soon, but you start writing, like, I start writing the story and I get 20 pages in just telling the regular story, and it's like, oh my god, I want to fit some more people into this story, right? um I what happened was I started writing this story, right? And in the beginning, I started telling the story, but as the story went on, and Jason kind of said the same thing, as the story went on, the story started telling me. So, like, I'd get to a point and it was like, I need a sarcastic character, right? And Josh Biddle, it's a perfect character, right? I need a ladies' man, right? I included Augie Rocha. I mean, if you're a part of the Collector's Corner, you know who Augie Rocha is. I needed a ladies' man in this part of the story, right? And Augie was a perfect fit. And it's really, the story is telling me now who I put where. Like you, for instance, I didn't, I, I mean, you and I started doing this podcast and we become good friends. But when I first started doing this, I didn't know you very well, right? But now I know you really well, and I know where you're gonna fit into this story, and I hope as this story goes along, and if people keep supporting it, I can keep bringing more people in, and I can keep bringing, not everybody's gonna be a main character, it's I can't have like 100 main characters, right? But I could fit everybody into the story if we keep this going.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, I like that idea of being able to keep the story going and being able to like you say, fit people in where they actually fit. We've had this discussion before about different things that have happened creatively through comic books in the past where things feel shoehorned in. You know what I mean? And with things being shoehorned in, that's when you start having people resenting different characters, or you have people that you just kind of, a character falls by the wayside because they got shoehorned into a story that really didn't fit their character at all, really. So Jason, I'm going to ask you: Are you practicing up on some of the folks that that you think might be coming down the pipeline in future stories? Are you kind of getting some? Are you getting some concept art going for people?
Yeah, I've had to design a few things well in advance because they were described to me a while back during the actual, putting together the pages for the first book. And we're, like he said, with this, me and Todd been friends for over a year now, and this whole time talking about each of these characters and who's going to be what and what's going to happen. Like, he's given me a general outline, like, well into the future, past book 4, where we're going to be doing, what's going on. And a few of the characters, like, we would be sitting there, hashing out ideas and be like, okay, so there's this guy, and he's going to be one of these things, kind of like this bounty hunter thing. He's going to look like this, going to be like a predator, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, cool. So let's start trying to, fill this out. And now I've had people, like he was talking about, messaging me and saying, so yeah, I might be in the story, I want to be like this. And I'm like, all right, cool. So now I've actually got a file on the pad where I've just got all these little drawings of people as different things. It's just my roughs or what my ideas for the crew. But yeah, no, there are quite a few actually, because the scope of this, it kind of keeps ballooning. It just gets bigger and bigger. Like I said, but at one point in here, I think I can safely say, Todd, we're gonna have like a large portion of the crew represented at one point, and it's gonna be insane.
I'm looking forward to doing the Where's Waldo splash page in the centerfold at some point, and having everybody circling where they're located in the Where's Waldo at San Diego Comic-Con or whatever, something like that. I can absolutely see you guys doing that. Now, I also really, it's encouraging to me to hear you guys talk about the storytelling, what needs to happen, because look, I'm not saying that you guys are there yet, but it's the same. When I hear you say that, it makes me reminiscent of other storytellers that have had really, really successful runs and really entertaining story arcs on multiple types of mediums, whether it be folks who are writing screenplays for movies or comic books or actual novels, those kind of things. That's encouraging to hear that it sounds like the story feels really natural to tell at this point. Is that a pretty accurate statement, Todd?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think Jason, from the drawing perspective, could probably say the same thing. I mean, I just sit down and I just start thinking about, okay, what am I going to write next? And next thing you know, I'm writing out pages. I've incorporated so many people into this story. I plan to incorporate so many more. One of the other things that I wanted to point out is that how we got into this direction was, one day my father and my brother were down here. We went to an Atlanta Hawks basketball game, and the Atlanta Hawks stadium, right outside of the Atlanta Hawks stadium, is kind of like a food court where you could get everything that you want to eat before you go into the game, right? And there's a Cartoon Network banner in that food court, and you could I think you could kind of walk upstairs, and it's like Cartoon Network offices. Also, driving, we both live near Atlanta. When you drive through Atlanta and you get to like North Atlanta, there's like a Cartoon Network kind of it's got satellite dishes and stuff, and it says Cartoon Network on the outside. And so, like, we were talking about what direction do we go, and we kind of chose this direction. But one of the ideas, and this is probably like crazy talk right now, but is maybe, if we write like 6 books, we can go to Cartoon Network and say, this is an Adult Swim show right here, and so that's kind of why we went in this direction that we went into. And that's one of the other goals, is maybe we can make this into a cartoon show. And Jason also talks about like how he can't wait to get one of the characters as a stuffed animal. So, if you remember when we were growing up and you go into Toys R Us and you see all those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures just inside of Toys R Us. I mean, this is crazy talk, but you never know. Maybe one day we'll walk into a Walmart and you'll see, there's the John Reynolds Space Force characters that you can buy, right? And Just don't sue us when that happens.
I would be no, man. I would be totally okay with that. My only request is that I have a few of them to set on the set shrine over here with my figurines and statues and comics and stuff. That's all I ask. I'm pretty easy to please with stuff like that. And it's funny too, because the way that you're talking about it, it absolutely reminds me of, and this is bringing this a little full circle back there for you, Jason, of Ben Edlung, and another famous creator that I take it, Jason, you probably don't have much experience in the animation world with cartoons yet, yeah?
Yeah, no, I a long time ago, like I said, I put down the pencil for a long time. But in high school, I got involved with some projects with some people out in Arizona, and I got my hand in on the process. But this is all old school, and everything's digital now, so I would be like, fish out of water now.
Understood. Well, the reason I say that is because, Ben Edlung, it was that way with him and the Tick. It was, hey, we got it, now we'll make it work. And really, that's how most people our age. Well, you're probably a lot younger than Todd is. By the way,
No, he's the
if
same
people.
age.
We're the
Oh,
same
okay.
age.
Oh wow, man. Well, I mean, tonight is Todd's birthday. I'm not gonna sing happy birthday to him or anything like that, but I will wish him a happy birthday on the podcast as
Thanks,
well.
bro.
No problem, dude. I'm not gonna let that one slide by, man. That's especially when you turn 90 like you just did. That's important.
Hey,
Jason, you're 92.
by association.
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, man, you kind of like walked into it. I wasn't trying to get you involved in it. You were more collateral damage there, Jason.
It was burned squared.
It was. Anyway, I digress. But between Ben Edlung doing this same type of thing, the other person that I'm thinking of is Todd McFarlane doing the exact same thing with the Spawn movie and then the Spawn HBO series that happened. That was a guy who just said yes. Yes, I don't know how to do that, but yes, we'll make that happen. And if you have a passion for what you're doing and you're willing to say yes when people give you opportunities, a lot of really good things can happen for you, and can happen for the people who are around you that are also willing to say yes. So that I'm like you say, I'm super encouraged in the fact that you guys are have that kind of attitude about it, and hey, take whatever opportunities we can get. And I'm also encouraged by the fact that it's been live for, we're looking at about about 3.5 hours now, and you're at 1551 on for what the funds that have been raised. That's pretty impressive, man. There are a lot of people who throw out Kickstarters that don't get to that level in the full 30 days that they're active. So Kickstarter always asks, that with them, they've got their frequently asked questions. They've got their, they want you to be able to put in their challenges and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you, I don't foresee there being any challenges that you guys aren't willing to overcome at this point. Tell me real quick, because I know we're running long time wise, but it looks like we've got some stretch goals listed out there as well. You guys want to talk about those stretch goals real quick?
Yeah, I can talk about those a little bit. So, first of all, I reached out to a lot of people, and I just asked about the stretch goals. Like, how important are those stretch goals, and do you want to see those, right? And the response I got for the most part was yes. We like to see those stretch goals. Um, we put stretch goals in, and hopefully we reach those stretch goals. That would be really awesome. We're already prepared for that. We've looked into everything. The one thing that I want to say though is, regardless of the stretch goals, we're Jason and I are constantly thinking about how do we give back. You know, we I totally understand, like, getting into a Kickstarter. It's not like honestly, I was hoping this would get published by Alterna Comics, and it would be $1.50 for everybody to buy this comic. That would have been a dream come true. I mean, everybody that I love and know could pick up this comic for $1.50. That was my hope, but it didn't work out that way, unfortunately. And because with a Kickstarter, you really don't know how you're going to end up, right? So you gotta be really conservative and really careful. If we do really well, you know, I'm not really concerned about what I make. You know, I if this gets published, and I'll be happy. And I really want to give back to everybody that contributed to this as much as I possibly can. So if I make $0 on this, but I can give back awesome stuff to everybody, that is what I'm going to do. I guarantee that to you 100%. Like, one, if I can give people an additional comic book, if I can give them prints, if I can give them whatever, I will do that. For this, this is our first go, and we want you guys, we want everybody that contributes to this to feel good, and we want them to contribute to book number 2 and book number 3 and so on and so forth. And hopefully by book number 3, somebody like Oni Press says, these guys are kicking butt, we need to pick these guys up, make our lives a little bit easier. But I mean, I love everybody that's contributed. I am thankful to everybody that's contributed, and hopefully we can do as much as possible to make this special.
Well, and really, it's like again, kind of bringing things back full circle. It's strengthening the community. There's a sense of community that we are all very proud of, that we've worked hard to maintain and to bring up to a certain level. And that's why, you know just like that, Todd's talking about adding value for people who are backing the project here, because it's not about being able to retire on issue number 1 of the crew and never doing it anymore, having 3 more issues basically in the can, written, ready to rock and roll, just waiting for these Kickstarter projects to come through, so that printing can be done on them, and so that everybody who is involved putting time in, they can get their, they make sure that they get what's due to them for their time and effort. That's good, but adding that value is great too. And honestly, we're speaking as a comic book collector here, not just a co-host. I'm cool with what we've got right now with the bookmark, the sticker, and the magnet. Those are all awesome. I've got a file cabinet. That magnet has a place on my file cabinet for sure already, already mapped out. I'm ready to rock and roll on that. So, I know the goal right now is 3,500, but I want to get that stretch goal to 10,000. I'm looking forward to putting that magnet on the file cabinet at some point.
John, the other thing is, I'm not just looking at this as a one-time thing, and I'm sure Jason isn't looking at this as a one-time thing either. You know, uh, my friend Bishop just started getting into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And the first printing of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? The very first print is astronomically priced, right? This book, unless it blows up beyond, what we could ever imagine, this is going to be a low print run, right?
Right.
And there's going to be there isn't going to be any surprises, right? We're not gonna all of a sudden start handing out books here and there, giving out first prints to everybody. You get in this Kickstarter, you got the first print, and
Right.
if we as a community can keep this book going, right? Well, this first print could be like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It could be like Rick and Morty. It could be like The Walking Dead #1, right? And so, I'm a comic book collector too, and I like getting value out of the things that I get. Well, if we can keep this going, right, we can add value to this first print, this first book, and the second book, and the third book, and the fourth book. They all have first appearances. So, I encourage everybody, get in and get this print. We're gonna make more of this book. There's gonna be 100 copies of this book before I die. And
I'm sure.
I
I have no doubt of that. What I could certainly foresee happening is an initial print run through Kickstarter. And I mean, look, you look at some books that have been picked up off of indie self-published type like that, and they end up having a third and a fourth and a fifth print run on them because the popularity gets there. And the one, like you say, as speaking as a collector, the ones that are highly sought after that nobody can find, and if you do find them, you're paying through the nose on them, are the original first copies of that are absurdly short printed. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 basically was printed out of their garage on a shoestring budget. And if you're catching any of those, man, you had to be in the right place at the right time to pick those up, which we're in a much different time. But the truth is, this is our generation's version of being able to try and do something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Nobody does it out of their garage anymore. You know what I mean? You do a Kickstarter this way because it's the right way for the independent guy, or I say guy, the writer or artist, to get to see their vision come to light. I'm looking here. We're a little over time what our normal time is. I want to give you guys just some final words here on the project as a whole. And Jason, I'm going to start with you. I want to give Todd the very last word here because he's my compadre, my co-host here. But Jason, give me your final thoughts here. What do you see for the future of the crew?
Future of the crew lies with the fans. This is a book all about inclusivity. Nobody's left out. There's, like he says, there's crews inside crews here. There's crews all over the place, and everybody has their crew, their band of brothers. And join the crew. because that's where we all come together as one. And it's a story that's going to have everybody laughing, smiling, crying. You know, the future is what the fans make it, because the fans are what drive us
Ba-
and what we've come to know.
Basically, this is the comic book version of Marvel's Avengers Endgame, right? That's what you just said there, Jason.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, no, I don't, dude. I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that at all. Like you say, I keep flipping back over to the Kickstarter to see the artwork and stuff like that, and it absolutely brings a smile to my face. I'm not the one that drew it or wrote it, but I look at it and I see some of the artwork that's in it, and I see Mike, I see Bishop, I see War Dog there. You know, I see them and their reactions, and it just makes sense to me. It does not see aliens and clowns and all these things don't seem out of place, you know, and neither do the characters. So that to me, that's perfect. Todd, I'm going to give you the final word, man. I'm going to let you close us up.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna make it really simple. You know, check out the crew. You will enjoy it. I've let a bunch of people read it. Some of the comments that I've gotten were, it feels like reading. It feels like I was watching Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid. That was Chris Shazam Silva's comment when he read it. Gaz Moses, I asked Gaz to do a cover. Gaz was, and if you know Gaz Moses, sometimes he can be a little bit dark, but he loved it. He felt like it kind of made him feel like a kid again. Really, there's kind of a nostalgia in this story. You know, you read it and it kind of takes you back, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just us, but it kind of takes you back to those days when you're riding your BMX bike, right? And you're listening to the Beastie Boys or Run DMC with your friends, and you got one friend that swears a lot, you got one friend that's really innocent, you got one friend that's kind of the middleman. That's kind of what I went for when I wrote this. I think it's a great story. Like I said, I read it like I did lettering on this story, so I've read it like 20 times, and I look at Jason's artwork. It makes me laugh every time. It's a beautiful story. There is so much more to tell about the story, and please just check out our Kickstarter and give it a shot. We promise you will not be disappointed. And
I could not agree more with that sentiment. I will also say I will next to guarantee that this meets and exceeds the goal. It's about 44% of the way funded already, but that means that there's still some room for other people to join in. So do not, the one thing I'm going to urge all of our listeners is, do not take for granted that your support is not needed for this. Your support is needed for the crew to be successful as much as anybody else's. If all you do is get the digital copy, that makes a difference in the goal being met, in the possibility of stretch goals being met, those kind of things. I mean, obviously, if you're interested in the stretch goals, you want to get up to that that $15 or more pledge, so that you're getting something physical, and that way everybody knows, hey, I'm actually getting a physical copy of the book, but I'm also any stretch goals that come with it those are coming my way as well. Really, really, really appreciate your guys' support of the podcast and of the crew. Yeah, man, I can't wait. Can't wait to get a physical copy in my hand, man. That's going to be. I'm looking forward to it as much as anybody, for sure.
I am too, man. I can't wait to hold one in my hand. I will be so happy. Thank you.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us this evening. One real quick note as well, and this is for a future podcast note. I'm going to be at VisionCon next Friday and Saturday. So you guys keep your fingers crossed that I get a couple of really good interviews. I'm not sure if I'll be able to top the interviews that I did for Branson Comic Con, but by golly, I'm sure going to try.
Hey, Jason, did you see Endgame yet?
Why, yes, of course I did.
That Captain America getting the hammer was pretty badass.
Dude, I knew you wouldn't be able to resist, Todd. I knew you wouldn't be able to resist.
I had to say something about that.
Great. Dude, now we're gonna have to put in the description that there's Endgame spoilers. You're just creating more work for us, Todd.
I know, I'm sorry, man.
Dude abides.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna retell this story because it's so dang funny. My wife turned to me as soon as she saw Fat Thor, and she's like, "Hey, there's a Thor you could cosplay as."
Ouch!
And I mean, my wife is terribly, terribly nice. She doesn't normally say stuff like that, but I'm never going to let her live that down because it's that dang funny.
He reminded me of Odin.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, dude. There were so many full circles and parallels there in game. Yeah. We could go on for another hour and a half talking that if you want to.
No.
And now it's bedtime.
Right on, man.
All right, guys. This is, I guess we got to wrap this one up. Jason, John, it was great talking to you guys. Thank you for everything. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Take it easy.
Be good, guys.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye.